What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. It's a lot sooner than you anticipated, I'm sure of, but today I wanted to get into a list of off-road or overlanding items that I personally think should be on every rig. To start things off, I'm going to break things down into three categories. Category number one is going to be recovery gear for your rig. Category number two is going to be safety and emergency items. And category number three is going to be camping goodies. Let's hop right into it. Alright, category number one, to start things off, we've got recovery tracks. These are super useful to help dig yourself out, give yourself traction to get out of mud holes, snow, sand, really anything. So that's why they're my number one on this list. Alright, number two on my list is going to be an off-road high-lift jack. Basically, you can jack your car up, put your traction board underneath you, or you can jack your car up if you've got a flat, you got to replace the tire, you've got to patch it, really anything you need to lift your truck. These are going to be great for it. Moving on to number three is definitely going to be extra gas. You never want to be off-roading or overlanding and run out of gas. So these 2 packs of 2 gallon by RotopaX are pretty solid. $90 for 2 of them is not bad. I have seen some better deals on Amazon where you can buy 1 for $40 or $50 depending on the size that you want. These work out pretty great. You can buy the mounts to mount them to your truck, and that way you always have extra gasoline. To go along with the extra gas, I always want extra water, whether it's for cooking or cleaning wounds or drinking. You always want to have some fresh water on hand, so that's why I went with the RotopaX 2 gallon capacity water tank. It's got the same mounting as the gasoline and pretty solid, $48.78 for one of them. That's kind of the price that you'll find for the gas and for the water packs for one that's 2 gallon. If you go any bigger, you're looking at $80 usually. So the RotopaX ones are pretty solid deals. Next up, we've got an air compressor. So when you're off-roading, depending on where you're at, whether it's super rocky or if it's super flat, your air pressure in your tire is going to be key for your traction. If you're driving on the road, I air mine up to 35 psi. If I'm off-roading, you start to come down to 20 psi, give or take, depending on where you're going. So I recommend having an air compressor that can plug in to your cigarette lighter on hand. That way you can always air up or air down your tires. This one here is about $60. It is pretty cheap, but it's got 6,700 ratings with a 4.3 star review, which is why I put it on this list, because it seems pretty solid. I'm a big black and red fan, and they have black and red, so it fits my style, and this will probably be the one that I pick up for my truck when I purchase one. Next up, we've got the tire repair kit. Now, you don't have to go with this one specifically, but for $17.99 and 5,000 reviews with a 4.7, I mean, it's pretty damn solid. This is definitely going to be the one I pick up to keep on my truck. That way, if I get any flats when I'm off-roading, I can easily patch it if it's patchable. Obviously, if I blow out a tire, can't really do much about it. That's where I'll use the jack and install the new wheel. Moving on, we've got a tow strap. If you have a tow strap, you can always pull someone out or be pulled out of being stuck. That's why they are key. Obviously, a winch would be better, and that is next on my list if you can purchase one. They are pretty expensive. Just scrolling through Amazon, each one's $380 for decent ones. But I was at a Tractor Supply recently, just hanging out, killing some time, and I found that they have some pretty solid ones. So the one I was interested in was the 4,500 pound one for $200. It's got 343 reviews online with a 4.4 star review. That seems pretty solid to me. If you have a smaller truck or you don't need as much capacity, $100 for a 2,500 pound one, 9,000 pounds for $330. So Tractor Supply was definitely a pretty solid option as well. Alright, category number 2, safety and emergency. To start things off, we've got a first aid kit. It's always important to have a first aid kit on you, and this one's pretty solid. 50,000 reviews and a 4.8 stars. That's pretty solid. 298 pieces for only 20 bucks, 57 cents. That is not bad at all. Comes with a bunch of bandages, sterilizing, utilities, scissors, everything. Everything you're gonna need for some basic first aid. Next item, I would recommend a fire starter kit. This one's a bit on the pricier side, $34.95 in my opinion at least, for a budget. But it comes with all the essentials, ignites even when it's wet, 4 different material types, seems pretty solid. That way you can always start a fire wherever you're at for warmth, cook food, really anything that you're going to need a fire for. So fire starter kit, pretty solid on the list. Next on the list is a fire extinguisher. Pretty self-explanatory. Your car lights on fire. You start your fire and it lights something else on fire you didn't mean to. Having a emergency fire extinguisher is going to save your butt. This one's 20 bucks, not too bad. And it's got a little trigger on there, so seems like it's pretty legit. This will probably be the one I pick up for my truck. Next up are some jumper cables. This is if you're going out with other vehicles, which I recommend only going out with other vehicles. It's always safer to go with a group, not alone. But if you do go alone, I would recommend a jumper box. These are going to be more expensive. This one's 200 bucks, that one's 100 bucks. But you could get away with just a small, cheaper one, $64.99. But if you're always going out with a group, jumper cables. Your battery dies, someone else's battery dies. You're going to want to be able to move your car and not have to tow it. So having the jumper cables on there is definitely going to save some hassle. And lastly, on the safety and emergency list, I've got Walkie Talkies. You're always going to want to be able to communicate with the other travelers, or if you get lost, maybe there's someone else out there with a walkie talkie. You just so happen to get on their channel or whatever, you can call for help. So these Midlands are pretty solid, 8,600 reviews with a 4.5 star review. They're a bit on the pricier side, but they're super solid. 70 bucks is not too bad. If you're wanting something a little bit cheaper, I found these Motorola's for 25 bucks, and they seem pretty solid as well. 1,300 reviews with a 4.5 star. I've just heard and read that the Midlands are pretty solid walkie-talkies. And lastly, we are on to our third category, camping goodies. So these are things I would recommend if you plan to stay the night. So starting off, we have a sleeping bag. I need to purchase one. This one's not too shabby. It's got my red theme. It is for 30 degrees or above. So I may get one that might go to 0 degrees because I plan to travel this winter and stay the night this winter. So I may get one just a little bit cooler. But for $29.99, that's not a bad deal. Pretty solid on the ratings, 4.7, and it's a Coleman, so that's not too shabby. Next up is going to be a propane heater. This one is the Mr. Heater, and it is pretty solid. I have used this one, works great, just runs off these little propane tanks. They're pretty solid. This one is $94, and it's a little bit bigger. If you're wanting a smaller one, they do have the smaller little buddy self-propane heater. This one is 70 bucks, $71.99, or you can get the original for $64.99 it looks like. And it just runs off of one little propane tank. That one's perfect for portability, maybe if you're just by yourself and you just need a smaller heater. But if you're going with you and your wife, like I will be, I'm probably going to buy the bigger Mr. Heater Buddy Heater. To follow along with the heater, we've got a fan to keep you cool in the summer nights. So this one's super cool. It's a portable fan that's rechargeable, and it's only $28.99, which is pretty solid for a rechargeable battery fan. And I think it's going to work great. This is going to be the one that I'll purchase for my rig. Next up, to go along with the propane heater, I recommend a propane stove. So this is just a single burner, but allows you to put your skillet on there, grill up some eggs, grill up some pancakes, toast, really whatever you're making. And for $39.99, that's a pretty solid deal for a propane stove. Moving on, we've got a portable table. So basically, this guy folds up into this little bag here, and it pops up to be a little table. It's super easy, you can cook on it, super compact, just gives you something to rest your food on, to, just put anything you would normally put on this little table while you guys are sitting around the fire. That way you don't have to hold it, and just makes things a little bit nicer. For $23.99, it's not too bad. I'm going to pick this up for my camping trips. Now, to go along with that little table, you're going to want some camping chairs. You don't always want to be in your tent. You want to be out sitting around the fire. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you which one to buy or show you which one that I'm going to buy, because realistically, there's so many different chairs. I bought one last year for $7 at Walmart that works just fine. Obviously, it's tearing now because they're great quality, but you can never go wrong with just a $7 camping chair, or you can spend a little extra cheese and get a nicer one here on Amazon, and that's probably what I'm going to do this time around. Next up, I've got a portable cooler. You're carrying beverages, food, want to keep them cold. This one's a bit smaller. It's got the little lunchbox handle type deal. For $20, it's not bad. I'll probably get a little bit bigger one because I want a few more beverages, a few more food in there, because I want to do a couple night trips. But this one's probably solid for a single night trip, or maybe even a 2-night trip, depending on what you need to pack in there. But I definitely recommend a cooler to keep your beverages and your food cold. And lastly, we've got a 4-in-1 camping utensil set. Comes with, you got your spoon, your fork, a knife, and a little bottle cap opener. Comes in this little packaging. Of course, I like the red one, and it's $9.97 for 2 of them. So $10, you get 2 of them for you and your wife, you and your girlfriend, you and your buddy, whoever. That's pretty solid. You can now eat your food. You can crack open a cold one with the boys, whatever you need. But this is probably the one that I'm going to purchase for my truck. Alright guys, so there you have it, my list of some overlanding / off-roading items that I personally think every truck or rig should have on them at all times. Now, if you're off-roading, you don't necessarily need the camping items, but if you're planning to overland like I am, I definitely recommend having those items on board. So I wanted to make this video before Christmas, that way you guys could have some ideas of maybe things you wanted to get or give to your overlanding buddies, and these are some pretty solid examples. Obviously, there's tons more out there you can get that will make your life a little bit easier overlanding, or just a little bit more luxury if you want to go that way. But these are some of the bare necessities that I personally feel like you should have on your truck at all times. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy today's video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.